So, how is it living in Lagos? So we've been here coming up for about 10 months now. We actually moved from Caldestarania. And if you see my other video, you understand why we moved from Caldestarania. You know, it's just wasn't for our family. We're Floridians and we enjoy warmer weather, but I'm sure other people would love it. If you like temperate weather, high 50s, low 60s year round, then it's for you. But me, I couldn't deal with it. I like heat. So we were coming down to Lagos to escape the cold weather and we just fell in love with it. I mean, it is picturesque. So let me turn it around here. You can kind of get a view. There we go. The old walls. The big high rises. But this is literally pretty much as big as you get, which is also a plus, which I'll talk about in a bit. But you know, it's one of the good things that we like about Lagos. All right, so where was I? So yes, Lagos. There are a lot of things to love about Lagos. One, the weather. This year, we had a bit of rainy season. I mean, it's been raining off and on pretty much from mid-October until maybe a week ago, which is, we're almost at the very beginning of April. And it was off and on rain, consistent, which was great because here in Lagos, we have quite a bit of problems with droughts and during the summer and etc. And it becomes a pain because you have water restrictions, and it's just, coming from Florida, where we have a gigantic aquifer and we provide probably 25% of the water to the entire rest of the U.S. It's definitely it's definitely something to get used to. I know other parts of the U.S. and the world probably have water restrictions at some point due to droughts and whatever, but it's definitely something I had to get used to. So here in Lagos, there was quite a bit of an easy transition. You don't have to learn Portuguese, to be honest. Portuguese is nice, but it's not a must. Unlike Caldestarania, where you have to know some Portuguese. There are times where, going to the city hall and etc., where I was, constantly pulling out my translator, trying to figure out, how to say this in Portuguese and, get what we need, because what people don't realize, anytime you go to a new city, you have to register with that municipality to say that you are a legal resident. And it can become a little complicated because they actually require you to have basically a guarantor, basically your neighbor saying that, hey, yeah, this is my neighbor, and they live in the place that they're stating they lived. But then the neighbors also have to be voters, citizens that actually have voting rights. Otherwise, they can't guarantee for you. And some places a little bit difficult because you have a huge transient population or a huge immigrant population, or what they call expats, potato potato. And most of these expats don't have voting rights because they're not citizens. So, it comes with a little bit of complexities. All that to say that here in Lagos, the population is about 25% immigrants, expats, which is substantial. I didn't realize it was so substantial, but we were talking to one of my friends, and they were kind of talking about it, and it was one of our realtors, and that we know quite well, and she was kind of talking about the stats of what they've been seeing as of late. So it was quite impressive. So you do not have to learn Portuguese, which is awesome. On top of that, you have the wonderful weather. Yeah, I'm in a wind jacket, but just because it's windy today. But I can easily walk around with a t-shirt here. The weather is quite warm where I really don't have to worry about it. And here, let me turn around. I'm actually hanging out at the skate park here in Lagos, and there's a playground on the other side. But people are outside on their bikes and the ramps and etc. and kind of hanging out. And then behind me, there's a massive park, kind of like Central Park in New York City. So that's really dope. And I come here all the time just to hang out and sit up under the trees. They have a bunch of fruit trees and stuff in here. Oranges, limes, lemons. They have fig trees in here just randomly along the sidewalk and along the paths that you can pick at your leisure. But yeah, that's just something to kind of keep in mind, that it's a wonderful place to be. And like I said, the weather here is usually low 70s year round. You have wonderful beaches, which I'll kind of montage here. And along with the beaches, they're literally right off the old town city. So if you end up staying in Old Town, you have kind of the choice of hundreds of Airbnbs, and they're not like massive high rises, which are great because it keeps the charming aesthetic kind of natural to Lagos. You don't have these giant high rises, giant resorts that kind of take up these massive areas of Old Town. And so you can choose these old townhouses, these hostels that are in these old buildings that are hundreds and hundreds of years old, and you have that authentic experience, which a lot of places that we visited, you don't have the authentic experience. And it's just wonderful. You have these old narrow streets that you can walk down, and you have hundreds of restaurants that you can choose from, and they have their own little unique flavor. And you just don't have these massive restaurants where they just don't feel cozy. They don't feel special because they're normal chains. They have 100+ seating, and it doesn't feel special. So majority of the restaurants here in Lagos, they feel special because it's intimate seating. They may have 20 seats at most, or 20 tables at most, and you get that special feeling from being in there and being in this old building with charm and etc. So it is quite nice. It's quite nice. And the city, even though it feels big, it's actually not that big. You can walk from side to side, like one side of the city from the beach in the Old Town to Porto de Mos, and it may take you 30 minutes walk if you know how to cut through the back alleys and whatnot. But it's not that big, so you really don't need a car unless you have some mobility issues or you're out of shape, to be honest, because it's easy to get around here. The other thing that we like is just the people. I mean, everyone, I guess because they have to cater to quite a bit of tourists here, because this is one of the main tourist spots in the Algarve, which I'll also touch on a little bit later. It's unique in its position in the Algarve. But when you're accustomed to constantly dealing with tourists, you tend to kind of treat everyone with that type of mentality that, hey, they're tourists, so we want them to enjoy their stay here and etc. So even though I live here in Lagos, I still get treated like a tourist 99% of the time, which is nice. It doesn't have some positive aspects to it. So that, and the fact that if you look at the train station, so imagine flying into Faro down here in the Algarve, and then you want to take a train because you don't want to rent a car or whatever. Lagos is actually the last stop on the train system from Faro, heading west towards Sagres. The train doesn't go anywhere past Lagos. So you have a lot of people that don't want to travel this far, so they end up sticking to like Albufeira, Caveiro, that type of thing, and don't go too far from Faro, or they go the opposite way. They go to east towards Spain, and you hit Tavira and etc. But it is the very last stop west. So you tend to not get a lot of that, what I call riffraff, and people just coming here on vacation to get shit faced. And so you get a lot of people who are a bit more intentional when it comes to their vacations, which I really enjoy. And you also kind of get a bunch of hippies. I'll say it. Once you come to Lagos, if you decide to come, you will realize quickly that it has a bit of a hippie vibe. Nothing wrong with hippies, but because of that, you get that particular vibe, and things tend to be a lot more chill here from a tourist standpoint. You get a lot of people that want to go hiking along the coast and etc. And then you have people that are backpackers, and you have a lot of people that are here with that type of vibe, and that leads to people who are a bit more chill and relaxed and just here enjoying the nature. So that's also another positive. And beyond that, I mean, it's just a wonderful place to live. I mean, all the places I visited so far, I've been to Lisbon, Porto, the big cities, Cascais. I've been to Albufeira, Tavira, of course, Cal de Serena, in that area, like Nazaré, which we lived our first year here in Portugal, and kind of everywhere in between. We stopped in various different places. We still haven't visited Setúbal and Sesimbra in that area, but that's on the list. But by far is my favorite place. And if you go back and you look at this video, I'll actually put it down in the description. But Lagos was one of my favorite places that I did on my exploration tour of Portugal. I absolutely loved it. And it's kind of awesome that I kind of lived out that, I guess, that vision, that expression, that this place is awesome, and now I'm happy and I get to enjoy it living here. So I'm definitely blessed. I'm definitely happy that we made the choices to kind of sacrifice to get here. But man, I absolutely love it here. Well, with that being said, let's talk about some of the cons. And the major con will actually push a lot of people away from Lagos. First thing first, you can't come here looking for a job. The salaries are very low. It's mostly tourist and restaurant places. There aren't any like major big hotel chains and stuff like that where you can kind of earn half salaries. So you have to deal with that. The salaries here are quite low. And trying to find, big salaries such as like from the US or Germany and France, you will not find it here. It's difficult finding. And so like the big industries and the big corporations, etc., the job market is quite bleak. And unless you're in the hospitality phase and industry, you won't find anything worthwhile. So don't come here expecting to look for a job. It's just not going to happen. You have to have your job already, or be able to work remotely, or you have a job from the US and you can just work remote. But it's very difficult to find worthwhile employment here. So that could be a con for a lot of folks. So secondly, if you have a family and you're looking for schools, it's kind of tough sledding here. I mean, we've seen better schools in like the Albufeira. Lule is a bigger city, and they have a little bit more variety of schools. It's tough sledding. One particular school, we've been on the wait list before my daughter was even born, and she's 3 years old now here in Lagos. So finding a school outside of the public system is very, very difficult. And even the public system, a lot of folks end up traveling from outside of Lagos to bring their kids here in Lagos. So it's very difficult to find a spot for young kids. And so we end up putting our kids in a private school here, which, is not very expensive, to be honest. For both of the kids, it's maybe like 500 euros a month for both kids. So it's not very expensive, but it's you know, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to find spots. And of course, we're looking to get into the public system because at some point, we want to save those 500 euros a month and put it towards something else. It's just difficult. We haven't been able to get our son to public school. We will try to get our son in a public school at some point, but from what we've been hearing from other parents that are here in Lagos, it's not very good. And plus, the schools generally, even the private ones that have a little bit more cachet, most of the parents complain about it, and that it's not worth it. They only care about the prestige and don't really care about the kids themselves. So that's some of the feedback that we receive from some of the public schools and etc. And then issues with bullying, and the kids don't feel safe, and because the schools just don't give a damn. And that goes for private and public here in Lagos. So if you have children, it will be a concern for you, because we're kind of dealing with some of that at the moment. And then the major con is housing. Now, this is the off-putting thing for us. We're struggling with this right now. If you need anything over a 2-bedroom, and even 2 bedrooms are expensive. I mean, just trying to find anything, it's crazy. It's on it crazy. So 3 bedrooms in good condition. I mean, most of them are crappy. Yeah. And they're really bad, really bad. This kid's just skateboarding. It's cool. All right. So, but yeah, so finding housing is a shit show. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's really bad. So a 3 bedroom in good condition, because the problem is when you're from wealthier European countries and the US, you see 80% of the housing here and you're just like, nah, this is really poor quality. You see stains in the roof from like moisture and mold, and it sucks. It's really slim pickings here. So a lot of times you have to sacrifice, and the places are really small, and then really pricey. So for a decent 2 bedroom, we're talking at least 1,500, no, probably more than that, 1,600 a month. And mind you, most people here in Portugal only make about $1,000 a month. So it's really, really pricey to find a 2 bedroom. 3 bedroom, it's even worse. It's slim pickings. So we're kind of going through it now. Places that are 1,700, 1,800, and they're in really bad condition. Generally, most places about 2 grand. That's U.S. prices. I mean, and without the U.S. salary. So it's a major issue. And a lot of these places, like I said, are old, built from like the 80s and 90s. I think the quality isn't that great. And so you get a lot of humidity and moisture in the house. And so you have to deal with running dehumidifiers all day, which is what we do. I think we have 3 dehumidifiers in our house running consistently at the moment, especially, due to the recent rainy season. And it literally just slacked up from rain, I want to say 3 days ago, 4 days ago. So the weather's been awesome, but from all that moisture and rain, we've been having to run dehumidifiers constantly to keep the moisture down, because it makes everything, the air just feel damp, and it's difficult to sleep and difficult to breathe. The mold starts growing in the corners of rooms, and it's just really, really bad. So that's something that you have to be cognizant of, is like the quality of the housing here. And then if you want to buy something, it's even worse. For about a 1,500 square foot house, if you want a fully detached house with like a yard, etc., easy over 700,000. If you want to be in Old Town, that's something a little bit more updated, a townhouse or a row house, as they call it in other European countries, it's 700,000. I mean, condos, 2-bedroom condo, 300,000. It is crazy, 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 the prices. And it's all because this is a very popular destination during the summer. During the year, it is quiet. I mean, roughly, I think they said last estimates is roughly 20 to 25,000 people that live here in Lagos on a year-round basis. And if you see the amount of buildings that are around me, you think there has to be way more than 20,000 people that live here year-round. And it's because you have such a massive influx during the summer. We're talking, it balloons, what, 4 to 5 times greater, anywhere between 120 to 150 on a daily basis during the summer that are here, 150,000, which is insane. And so everyone that owns a place here, they either come here during the summer or they rent it out on Airbnb, and they make their entire mortgage for the entire year over the summer, which is insane. And so you kind of have to keep that in mind when you're looking for a place, because one, finding a long-term rental because of that is difficult, because they want to make all their money in the summer, so you see a shit ton of short-term rentals. And then for the housing, if you go to purchase, they know that, hey, I'm making 30,000, 40,000 over the summer, so why would I want to list my house for cheap? So you have to kind of calculate that in for the extra amount of money you spend on a house. So it's just crazy, 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 crazy. So the housing is a big deal, and I think that puts off a lot of people. Hell, it's even putting us off, because we're trying to find a place that's comfortable, that we can be in a long term. We don't want to spend 700 for a detached house is crazy. It's more than we spent in the US for a house on the beach. And spending that type of money here in Portugal, it was unheard of, and so you kind of get that bad taste in your mouth from the prices. But anyway, just something to consider. And like I said, I love it here, but we're seriously considering some other options because of the housing situation. And if you're not comfortable in your housing, or you spend quite a bit of your time, you want to look at some other options. But anyway, that is the highlights of living in Lagos. And if you stuck around to this time, please consider subscribing. I got a lot more videos coming, kind of talking about our time here. We're coming up on our 2-year anniversary of being in Portugal this summer, and there's been a lot of lessons learned from this time. And it has some pluses and it has some minuses for people that are considering potentially moving here, or making it a secondary home. But anyway, if you guys have any questions, let me know. Is there something that you want me to discuss in a future video? Let me know as well. But anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.